not expecting quite that whole thing. It's nice to see you all. A lot of friends here. Hey.
Good morning, sir.
Hi there. Yeah, luckily Dusty walked me through that whole Dick Dale introduction and really helped me along in that. I mean, that was such a weird gig to get when I got it. I was in the middle of a tour in Europe with Agent Orange, and this is '03, so no one had phones, and I was going into internet cafes and emailing them on the sly, like, oh, we could use a bass player. I'm like, fuck, I'm in the middle of a tour. And he's like, hey, but you have to be, you know. And I ended up quitting Agent Orange in the middle of the tour, flying home, renting a car, driving straight to Dick's house. We did like an hour-and-a-half rehearsal, and like got through like 5 songs and went, you'll be fine, I'll see you on tour. And I drove the rental car to my house. I had a 1-year-old child, did my laundry, and drove back to LAX, returned the rental car, and flew to the tour. That's how it started. And learned everything on the fly. And I'm sure there are videos out there of me just floundering. And you know, it's like, and really it took like years of playing with him to understand kind of how to work with a guy like that just wanted what he wanted, and like, you're gonna stop and you're gonna go, and he's gonna go bass solo, and you're gonna maybe play for 1 bar, and then he's gonna start playing, or you're gonna play for 64 bars, and then he's gonna start. So every time he would throw a solo, Dusty knows this, you're just playing like a madman from the top of because it may be 4 beats. Or, you know, and then if it keeps going, you're like, well, what tricks do I have now? Go high, go low, go middle, go chords, I don't know, you know, play with my teeth. You just had to kind of just be on full blast all the time. But one of the things that was fun and that worked to my advantage was from playing with Dick, or playing with Agent Orange, I played always with a pick with them. And Dick required that. Yeah, I mean, it was the kind of thing where, like, when I joined the band, it was like a P bass, brand new round on strings, and a showman set with the treble on 8 and the bass on 4. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Like, it was the worst sound. But then you just figure out how to deal with it and turn it up a little, and it's distorted, and you're like, well, that actually doesn't sound so bad. But every now and then it would be super bright, and I'd go over, like when he wasn't looking, and turn the treble down and be like, that's better, oh, great. And like, always within about 45 seconds, he'd go, what? And he'd see my amp across the stage. Walk over. It was, yeah, just, that was a classic dude. And one of the things when you were asking about what Dusty looks for in a bass player, like, I think a lot of this, like he's talking about strength and command and just knowing your instrument, but a lot of it is just like not having, like some drummers you have to think, oh, this guy leans way ahead. Ooh, I have to think about what he's gonna do and find stuff to match it. And some people you play with, you just have a natural, like whatever I play works with whatever he's gonna play. You know, we don't even talk about it or think about it. It's just the styles mesh in a really natural way where you don't have to think. You just play like you play, and they play like they play, and it's like, oh, great, this makes it way easier. Let's go have a burger or a beer a few years ago. What were you gonna say,
Do you have any jazzy background like Dusty does?
No jazz. I was always like just a rock dude, you know. And
What did you play in school?
oh, I went, yeah. Luckily from he just asked me what I played in school. So I started playing violin when I was 5. And play, you know, the school systems, they had music programs, and I played Suzuki violin, and then when I was in 4th grade, we had orchestra twice a week, and I think I switched to viola at that point, and then I switched to bassoon in junior high and played that for a couple years, and then I want to play in the marching band. I want to step up, You know, and I played tenor sax all through high school. And then I started playing bass after I graduated high school because I was like, oh, I want to be in a rock band or a band. And sax players only, like, they get to play on 2 songs. And the rest of the time they're just standing there looking stupid. So I literally, like some friends of mine had a band. I went, which instrument is easiest? Drums, all 4 limbs. Nope, that's out. Singer, you have to be able, nope, that's out. Guitar player, you have to play chords and solos. That's out. Bass, 1 note at a time. And really, on bass, like, you can have, I don't want to say shitty, but the simplest bass player, if everyone else in the band is good, the band is good. Even if the bass player's going, you know. If everyone else is going, you know, you're like, that band is great. They're not, you know, but if the guitar player sucks or the singer sucks, or the drummer, it sucks, you know. So I picked the bass specifically because I was like, oh, I can get in a band quickly. And I was in a band in like 3 months. Couldn't play very well, but my ear was trained from all the marching band and orchestras and stuff, so I knew what was right and what was wrong, and it was just figuring out how to do it on these strings. To answer your question. And one of the things I was I'm gonna talk a bit. One of the things, like, I wanted to talk about this because a lot of people, like, you know, there's fingerstyle bass and I better make sure this is in tune. Oh, no. I've played with a pick for years, but also equally adept with my fingers. And some bands, they require the touch of fingers and the damping and all that. But more and more, I find myself really laying into picks because they just have, there's a lot of nuance. You know, you can palm mute, or you can get a lot of aggressiveness and point on the note, and especially in a power trio, bass has to kind of add, like, the bigger the band, the less the bass plays, generally. And just playing with a pick, stick stuff out, you can do a lot with it. And I use medium picks. A lot of people use really heavy picks. A lot of people use flat wounds. I'm playing like pretty new round wounds and a medium pick because when you really dig into it, you can get a lot of texture and nuance out of a pick. That's and being able to switch between pick and fingers also, you know, just being able to have those techniques at your fingertips, so to speak. And you know, you watch a lot of videos and there's a lot of left hand ripping, you know, like a lot of the nuance and dynamics comes from the right hand. Not the left hand, there's a lot of damping and stuff, and obviously the note choice is there, but this hand really provides dynamic and tone and bloom of notes. You know, sometimes you don't want them to bloom. Sometimes you just want them to just plunk, and sometimes you want them to just be a big, nice bed for other people to do stuff. And that's one of the things like playing with Dusty is like with drums, you notice dynamics and like a lot of he can play the same beat, leave the kick drum out, change it, and then add the kick drum in, and it lifts the whole thing and changes the dynamics. And a lot of this stuff is just dynamic based. And yeah, I don't, aggressiveness and knowing when to play. Just listening to like letting other people have their space. If they're hauling ass, sometimes you need to haul ass. But if they're doing something that really goes somewhere, sometimes you just want to play a big note and let that highlight. I don't know. I'm off on some crazy tangent.
What do you want to play?
I don't want to play anything.
You don't want to play anything?
I don't want to decide anything. Jam.
That's all living room shit, right? Where you're just playing chords. Who's gonna play that in a band? I do occasionally, but not very often. But like knowing just what notes kind of speak on a bass. You can play those chords, which is just the top notes of if you play a bar chord on guitar, 1/5 octave, major third. So on a bass, you can always voice those like, you don't even have to play the root because it's in there. Or this is a super useful chord on bass. I do that a lot, endings of songs or songs where the guitar player is doing something and it just needs flavor. You need to have some kind, you can play the root, but just having a voicing there that denotes whether it's minor or major. Super useful for all you bass players. I'm gonna come here next year and everyone's gonna be like, yes.
Speaking of flavor, I notice you don't use a lot of effects. Talk about effects and bass.
I actually do use them a lot in other bands, not with. One of the things I like in surf music and bass in general, I tend to find that, like if you listen to that tone, it's not a lot of low end. On this Showman, I have the treble on 5, bass on 5. This is a much more typical bass. Tends to, in a room, muddy things up. It works in certain styles of music, but really, every time you roll the low end out, roll the treble up, the sound man will come up and go, dude, that's great. I can actually hear the bass. It's not just a big wash of mud. They can hear it and it cuts through and adds definition and note value. And you can hear what the note is, not note value like length, but what the note is, you know, and just sounds a little, and that's something I learned from Dick, you know. Maybe, you know, he would have this with the treble. That's how Dick wanted to hear bass. It's like, but I would just turn it up and get more distortion up. And that would thicken it up. But that's what he wanted. That's not what I want. But if I pull it back to that, so there's a lot of dirt on that. And when the band's playing, you don't hear any of that. You just can hear the bass though. And the bass doesn't have to be as loud. The distortion it's like with guitar, you know, like a super clean guitar, like a Roland Jazz Chorus guitar, it's great for its texture, but you want a little drive and a little hair on the top of it to cut through. So, back to the original question. In other bands, I use fuzz a lot, you know, and occasionally I have this old chorus pedal from the 80s and I'll put that on, it like rings, and it's really fun to mess with effects, but you have to use them judiciously. I typically, if anything, I use like a big muff because it's just super ugly, and it's the kind of thing you kick it in a solo and it just fills up space. It's kind of rhythm guitar-ish, you know. So yes, effects are good, but used wisely. Yes.
What's up, Sam? Nice to meet you again.
Yes, you too, man. Good to see you.
I was thinking if you can play a little part of any Dale song, if we can recognize it without the guitar.
Oh, jeez.
Everybody recognizes the song of the guitar, and
right.
Now we don't have it. But with the drums.
I'll just play all the guitar melodies.
Anything.
What song do you want to do?
It's so funny, me and Dusty have this conversation all the time. Like, we don't know the titles of any songs. It's just like, Pacifica, which I actually know that song, because that's such a recognizable melody, but we will in a sec.
I'm curious in particular to hear how you guys would sound on Lizardo.
Yeah, okay, it's been a few years since we played it Dick style, because we play it all the time with Slacktone and whatever other group of idiots we're playing with. But
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but let's do a little hunk of Miserlou, thinking about, he doesn't have enough toms, I will tell you that, or the big rumble thing, or the other kick drum, so it's be a little bit of a problem, but yes. Hold on, let me just get this sound together. Tuning's for wimps. Yep, I'm good. So we'll just pretend he started. Yeah, and as it, like a lot of downstrokes, and that, you know, there's something about downstrokes, and sometimes I get tired and it turns. But yeah, downstrokes is just an insistence and you're just leaning forward, and it really gives a sense of aggression and consistency when you're playing up and down. It's passable, and I do it all the time. When everyone's playing, you don't notice it as much, but there's nothing like all downstrokes to give it that aggression. And yeah, that's a big part of surf bass and just bass in general. Like, and a lot of these things are techniques that are kind of applicable to all kinds of stuff. Last night, like Dusty was saying, I played at the Baked Potato with the blues rock guitar player that I tour with a lot in Europe named Philip Sayce, and he's a ripping guitar player, but also three-piece. For some reason, I've been in, you know, Agent Orange, three-piece band. Dick, three-piece band. Slacktone, three-piece band. Philip, three-piece band. I've played in a lot of bands that have been three-piece, and so that, a lot of my technique and just kind of playing within stuff is based on that, because I'm having to flavor chords. You know, if the guitar player is, you know, I'm like just utilizing voicings and figuring out how to walk between stuff to give stuff motion, because the guitar player is doing whatever he's doing. So yeah, a lot of this stuff is just, you know, it's based on country, and then just adapting it to the band. Yeah.
So, in the bass, the hammer-on technique is very important to the surf feel when you're with the drummer. When that marries, it makes the surf sound feel that much more alive, rather than just playing down, down.
Right,
down,
rather
down.
than just going, go. Yeah, and I find myself just doing that without even thinking about it, but you're absolutely right,
It's
yeah.
the bass whammy.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I never thought of it like that, the bass whammy, but it is. Yeah. And I do it all the time, and there's something that when you're driving stuff, like if you use that, it just kind of like leans you into stuff, you know, it pushes things along. Any other questions that I can try to figure out an answer to? Yeah.
Can you tell us a fun Dick Dale story?
Oh my God.
Oh, the wisdom.
Oh, the wisdom. Well, yeah, oh, okay. He's had enough. A fun Dick Dale story. God, there was some good, I just have so many crazy memories of that guy. One that was fun and like, kind of like shows you what a badass he was. We were in Boston. He's from Boston. He was born in, I'm spacing on the, it wasn't Watertown, what? Yeah, Quincy, as he would call it. But we were in Boston, and Jill, his wife, had come out on that tour, or not even on the whole tour. She flew out for the weekend, and we were in a rental car, and Jill was driving, and Dick was in the front seat, and we got into one of these situations near some marketplace where there was 2 lanes into one, and this guy next to us just was not given an inch, and he was like just trying to inch his way in front of us. And this went on for like 10 minutes. Like the traffic was not moving, the guy was just not given an inch. And Dick got out of the car in full Dick Dale regalia, you know, leather jacket, headband, the whole thing, you know, and walks in front of the guy's car and he goes, "You fucking let her into that lane, I'm gonna kick your," you know, and the guy just like is this big hulking dude. Oh, okay. So that's the kind of Dick did not take shit. And you know, he's like 68, 70 at the time, but just, you know, in his head, he's gonna kick anyone's ass at any time. And he made that guy back down immediately. It was, yeah. But I'm someday, Clint, you and I will sit down I have ugly stories and hilarious stories and weird stories. One of the funniest things, just a few days ago, Philip, the guy I play with, his wife had a baby. And he sent us a picture of his wife with the baby, and the baby had her fingers like this. And Brian, the drummer in the band, who also played with Dick for a while, he goes, "Oh, that's what Dick Dale would sign to Sam for the 4-chord." And I was like, "That's right," because when we would do this trumpet song, he would like kind of change the arrangement all the time. And so he'd be playing it, and he would, if he wanted to stay on the 1 chord, this was the 2 chord, this was the 4 chord. Like when he wanted to change, that's the 4 chord, but then the 5 chord is 5. And I never could get a straight answer with him, but this was the 1st chord, this was the 2nd chord, but the 5 chord, shouldn't that be 3? Then yeah. 1 chord, 4 chord, 5 chord. I have no explanation, but that is one of those idiosyncrasies of that guy.
It's because he's
Dave Ronsky to the stage, you're up next.
he's doing like this because he's for like in a Roman.
Oh, Roman. Oh, but this would be 5 then.
Yes, but he doesn't use the other finger.
Oh, right. Yeah, but he was playing trumpet, so he couldn't put his other finger there, right? See, yes, I knew there was a reason. We finally got it. But then, this should have been the 5 chord. Why was this the 5 chord? I got you. All right. Any other questions before Mr. Ronsky comes up and blows our minds with his orchestral magnificence? Yes. Who are what? Bass heroes, just the standard McCartney, John Paul Jones. There's actually a guy named Scott Tunis who was with Frank Zappa, but I was in, you know Frank Zappa, he knows him. Scott Tunis was a crazy, supposedly broke up Zappa's band, but a fantastic bass player. And I played in Fear for a little while, this punk band, and Scott Tunis had done one record with them, and I listened to it, and it was incredible. Like it was like one of their, it was like their 3rd record, I think. I can never remember what the record's called, but there's a song on it called "Fuck You, Let's Rodeo," and the bass playing on that record is incredible. It's incredible, and the drummer told me they were in the session. He had a music, Scott had a music stand set up, and they were going through the songs, and he's just killing. And at some point, the drummer walked over. No music on the stand, a magazine. It was so easy for me. I was reading a magazine between, and just you listen to the shit, and it's incredible. And there was some guys, John Avila, who was in Oingo Boingo, when I was just learning. He was a big inspiration because I knew people in his circle, so I'd go hang out at jams at his house. And there was another guy from my hometown, Pasadena, named Jamie Hunting, who's gone on, he toured with David Lee Roth and Roger Daltrey a bit, but one of those guys that's he could drop a fork on the bass and you'd go what was that? Oh my God, let's make a song. But drugs and alcohol has kept it. He should be one of the greats, Jamie Hunting, and just kind of lost to obscurity because of big mistakes, showing up to gigs, pulling his bass out of the case with no strings on it. He forgot to string it, at a gig, oh, we play in 5 minutes, and does anyone have any bass strings? Yeah, shit like that, that'll jack you up. Yeah, anything else before Dave is up here? Come on.
Sam, can you talk about the walking bass?
The walking bass. I don't know what, I'm just such a moron when it comes to real jazz walking where they're leading tones and you know, I just kind of, the fail-safe is always the just walking up the major scale and trying to lead in and out of stuff. But like, you gotta ask jazz guys about that, because I listen to jazz guys walk and I'm like, I don't even understand, that's beautiful. And I don't even you know, they're just leading you places within it. But yeah, I mean, for rock and roll especially, you know, it's either octaves and fifths or just trying to like mix up the notes in the major scale and throw a flat in there every now and then and go ooh, ooh. So.
More of a statement than a question is the thing that I think makes Slacktone so exciting is you guys are mixing so many different textures. It's not just surf, it's got the jazzy elements, it's got heavy, it's got, you know, a little smidge of blues, a little bit of exotica, you know.
Absolutely.
You're mixing all these styles and it makes it so much more than just surf. I love standard surf, but you guys are so exciting because the dynamics, the influences, it's all over the place, and it just makes it more of a full picture instead of just a snapshot of a stick figure.
Right. Thanks. I appreciate that. And that's all really thanks to Dave's brilliant orchestration and voicings and guitar techniques that are like...
There's many people, bass players and drummers, that wouldn't be able to back up Dave like you have.
Right. Yeah, well, I do appreciate that. And I mean, Slacktone is really a marriage between Dave and Dusty. And Dusty hearing what Dave's doing and orchestrating within that. And then I just come in and kind of go like, how can I sort of glue this down? And like, that was another thing where I ended up in Slacktone because of the unfortunate death of Mike Sullivan. And I did one gig with them where Mike had wrecked his car and they called me and said, hey, what are you doing this weekend? And it was like Friday. And I'm like, I don't have anything. And they're like, we're going to Northern California to play one gig. Mike wrecked his car. Can we just come by and pick you up and go up there? And so I literally got in the car and just listened to like just standard surf songs and a few Slacktone songs, and we did a gig or two, and then a couple months later I ended up joining the band because Mike was diagnosed with cancer. And so I never really, it was just like thrown into the fire and learned on the gig. So it's funny for me to go back to those Slacktone records. Sometimes like, oh, we have a gig and we haven't played in 6 months, and I go back to the records and I'm like, I don't play this shit at all. Like it's supposed to be played. I've concocted my own version of it. But if you listen to those records and then you watch me play, completely different. Mike was an incredible bass player and totally different than me. Like a 5-string and like very finger-oriented and R&B. He was phenomenal. And I listen to those and I'm like, shit, I should learn the actual song someday. And then I'm like, oh, but what's on YouTube? Oh, look. Some guy ranting about bass players. I'll watch that instead.
I have to say, when you first joined the band, I was like, oh, he's not Mike. And then after a while, I was like, that's good.
Wow.
It's good to be yourself.
Thanks.
And you bring a lot of energy and musicality that it complements the band.
Oh, thank you.
It's still being a little bit more than normal surf.
Thanks. And I was just lucky because Dusty had been in Agent Orange. He had joined Agent Orange when I was in there, so I knew him from that. And then I got pulled into a John and the Night Rider. We did, it was either 1 or 2 tours of Europe with Steve Latination. Dusty left to play with Dick. Pete Curry left to join the Straight Jackets.
It's a very incestuous surf girl.
No. So yeah, those 2 guys left to join those bands. Me and Steve Latination joined, and we did. And so I knew I had played with Dave in that band. So when Mike was diagnosed, it was I I was the easiest. They both knew me. They both knew I was somewhat aware of surf music and how to play it, and got pulled in. Yeah. But thanks, I appreciate the compliment. I still feel like every gig I'm like, oh shit, maybe I should stop playing all this crap that I'm playing. Learn some other crap.
As Dave from the Insect Surfers would say, if you make a mistake, it's the jazz version.
It's the jazz version all the time, and we're doing that more and more, as you will probably find out. You realize that a lot of these moves that you came up with when you were 35 or 40 are much harder to play when you're 65. You're like, oh, the hands don't work quite the way they did.
When you go from band to band, do you leave a trail of broken hearts behind you?
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, it is weird, the shuffle and trying to book around people and not hurt people's feelings. I mean, like, I know when I left Agent Orange, it was not, there was a lot of...
How pissed was Mike?
He was very pissed. I left him in the middle of a tour. And it was crazy. I set the whole thing up. There was a guy that had subbed for me when I was in Europe with another band for a few gigs, and so I had Dusty call him. Because Dusty, I was in Europe. You know, there's no phones. There's like, I would have had to go to get a phone card and sit in a payphone. So he set the whole thing up. He calls the guy, sets it up, like, okay, can you do the gig? Yes, you can do it. You can get the time off of work. Great. And we're just about to book flights, and I hadn't told Mike anything. Like, I was just going to have all the ducks in a row, like, Mike, I'm leaving, but Angry John is coming in, and he's going to save the day. And I went, and leading just a little bit before that, there was a couple days where I was talking to Dusty, and he was like, well, you gotta come home. The tour starts in like 4 days. So if you want to do it, you gotta come home. So we were on this package tour with US Bombs, and Dwayne Peters was the singer of US Bombs, and he's this total, like, tattooed eyelids and like just a street urchin, professional skater, but the singer of that band. And he and I were the only guys who would get up in the morning and go out and have coffee. Everyone else, it was a 4-band tour, so there's like 20 guys on this bus. And he and I would get off, and I was just telling this story to Dusty. We sit down at a table, you know, in Germany. It's like 9 in the morning, very lovely little small town, and the server comes up and she goes, oh, what would you like? And he goes, 4 cappuccinos. And she goes, okay. And he goes, and whatever he wants. And like, he would literally drink 4 cappuccinos, like just pound them down. But so I told him about the whole situation. He goes, oh man, take the gig. When Johnny Two Bags had to quit Cadillac Tramps and join Social Distortion, we were happy for him. He's, yes. And he goes, and let me tell you, I know what the problem is. You don't want to fuck your friends, but it's worse to fuck yourself. And it was really, you know, like, I mean, it sounds kind of brutal, but it was. Like, I was literally considering not taking the gig because I didn't want to throw Agent Orange under the bus. I played with them for years. But in the end, I came home, I started playing with Dick, I kept the gig, quit my day job, and I've never had a day job since. So otherwise I would have gone right back to work at the guitar store, you know. So it was, you know, Dwayne, it was a harsh phrase, but one I've like harkened back to many times and just gone, yeah, you know, like, I've got to make this choice and it's going to be hard for them, but if I don't do it, it's a missed opportunity that I'm going to regret, you know.
Hey, Sam?
Yeah. Okay, one more question.
How do you creatively use space in your play?
Just stop. Sometimes, I mean, it was funny last night at Baked Potato, like there was times where we're in the middle of a solo and literally stop, and that's the biggest dynamic. Like, you know, you can play a note and let it ring and let things stretch out, but if you stop, it changes the whole thing, and all of a sudden, whoa, what's happening? And then when you come back in, it's like a bomb dropping and makes it big again. So stopping is not against the rules. It always feels weird because we all want to be playing all the time, but stopping it's a wonderful way to just put attention somewhere else and bring it back to yourself when you come back in. And on that note, I'll be stopping right now. How about that?